Submotion to work, it needs to know about the members in your organization and the services you use. When you start out, it only knows about the person that signed up and the Submotion service itself. Now, you can add members manually from the All Members page, but what you will typically do is connect to a service that already knows about the members. If your organization uses Google Suite or Office 365 for email addresses, this is typically a good place to start. Let's try connecting to Google Suite. I go to the Services page and click Integrate with a new service. We see a collection of the most common SaaS systems. I will click the Google Suite card right here. This now informs me that I need to be the administrator of the Google Suite domain in order to connect. If I am not the administrator, I will need to add the person who is as a Submotion admin and have that person set up the connection. I happen to be the admin in this situation, so I click here and I see a Google confirmation page. If I was not logged into Google Suite, I would need to do that first. So Google asks me to approve that Submotion will be allowed to see who has a Google Suite account in my organization. I click Allow, and Submotion will now go and fetch all of those accounts. Note that this can take a while if you have many. Now, it's important to understand the difference between members and accounts in Submotion here. An account refers to an account in an external system like Google Suite or Slack, whereas a member is a person that has or used to have an account in one or more of these systems. At the moment, Submotion knows about the Google Suite accounts, but it still doesn't know about any members. The accounts are listed as unconnected for this reason. I need to decide what to do with each account. So per default, Submotion will suggest that I create a member for each account, unless it senses that this might not represent a person, for instance if an email address is called sales or similar. In that case, it suggests that you can ignore it. When I've decided that this looks good, I click the Submit button at the bottom and Submotion will create the new members for me. We can see that the accounts are now listed as connected, and if we go to the All Members page, we can see that it has created members for all of these accounts. It's worth noting here that some of these members are tagged as inactive. This is because the email accounts were marked as suspended, and Google Suite has reported that to Submotion. If I go to the Active Members board, I will now see the grid view for all of the active members here, and you can see that they're listed as having Google Suite accounts. Similarly, if I go to the Inactive Members board, I will see all the members that are now tagged as inactive and see that they have suspended Google Suite accounts. Let's try connecting to Slack as well. I go through the same process. I find Slack in this list. I confirm that I'm the administrator of Slack and I click the Connect button. Slack asks me to approve that Submotion is allowed to know who has a Slack account. I click Allow and Submotion goes and fetches all of the accounts. Now, this time Submotion already knows the members in my organization, and since most of them have used the same email address to connect to Slack, it has automatically made that connection. These two accounts, however, have used different email addresses, so we need to decide what should happen to those. The first one has the same exact name as a known member, so Submotion suggests that we probably want to connect those. The second one is harder because Submotion only knows about Samantha, not Sam, so it thinks that this might be a new member. We tell it to connect instead. We click the Submit button, and now we can see that all the Slack accounts are connected as well. If I go back to the grid, I can see that all the active members in my organization have both a Google Suite account and a Slack account, except for this Hauke guy. Maybe that's something I need to look into. Submotion will automatically refresh these connections every day, so the grid will show you an updated view of accounts. Of course, this only works when the services are connected. Submotion has integrations with some of the most popular SaaS applications, but you can add services that aren't integrated as well. You'll need to keep these up to date yourself, obviously, but this still helps you maintain the overview in one place. Let's try adding a manual service. If what I'm looking for doesn't exist in this list, I can click here to add a custom service. Let's say, for instance, I want to keep track of who has access to the business intelligence server. I can call this service Business Intelligence Server, and I can select an icon that will match this to help me remember. Let's say I search for BI icon. This icon will do well. We select that, and it will upload and be used now as the icon. I can then indicate who of my members have access to the BI service. So let's say that these 3 do. If I now go to the active members board, I will see that represented in the grid here. So you can see these 3 people have access to it. If I want to change this in here, I can also do that from here. So that concludes this brief introduction to how Submotion works. There's obviously a lot more to know, but this should at least help you get started.